What is Dharma? And what the Force does it have to do with Star Wars? The Dharma is the Buddhist teachings that point to the true nature of reality, like an X-wing targeting computer that zeroes in on the bullseye. The Dharma isn't the target, the truth itself. It only hangs us in the right direction. That's because the true nature of reality isn't something that can be understood through the words or concepts, but it's the way that you live your life right now, free from the confusion or the forced religious beliefs and physiology. The Dharma directs us from the truth of reality or heart of real life. Today we're taking a spiritual look on the Star Wars through the key concept of Dharma. You're listening to Han Talks First.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
George Lucas loves to implement different types of culture into the Star Wars franchise, mainly mixing both Eastern and Western psychologies and life experiences. So we're starting off this episode today talking about mindfulness or Jedi meditation. Mindfulness is awareness. It's attention. It is alertness. It's the opposite of spacing out or being forgetful. There is this Zen expression that goes, if we live in forgetfulness, we die in a dream. Qui-Gon Jinn once told Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace to be mindful of the living force. Now, being mindful of the living force means that recognizing that life isn't just happening to us, but we are happening to life. And we are contributing to this world that everybody shares. We can make it a better place if we keep our concentration here and now. And if we live in the forgetfulness, we'll just keep grumbling at people for being who they are. When we live in mindfulness, we know what needs to be done to calm fears and soothe worried minds, therefore not leading us down the path of the dark side. By developing what the Jedi call mindfulness, we can also let go of the concepts that separate us from directly experiencing reality. When you're listening to this podcast, for example, you know that you're listening to a podcast. But if your thoughts drift off onto what you're going to eat for dinner tonight, or what you would do if you had Jedi powers, then you're not listening mindfully. When you're listening to a podcast, you should focus on listening to that podcast. And when you're making dinner for your evening meal, or wondering what you would do if you had Jedi powers, then you'd be focusing on making your dinner and what you would do with your Jedi powers. So let's look at Luke Skywalker, first of all, since I think he's a prime example from when we're talking about the Dharma of Star Wars. Now, Luke Skywalker learned mindfulness of breathing on his first visit to Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back, while he's climbing vines or dashing through the undergrowth or leaping logs or is being instructed on the dangers of the dark side of the Force. Luke's mind is racing with 1,000 questions a minute, all about the dark side. Is the dark side stronger than the good side of the Force? How can I distinguish it from good? And how can I know not to do certain things? Luke's questions come in such a rapid-fire manner that it's clear to Master Yoda that Luke has lost touch with what he's doing in the here and now. Noticing this, sensing Luke's mind was running away from him, he brings the lesson to an end, and he says,
"Nothing more will I teach you today. Clear your mind of questions."
Please forgive my Yoda impersonation. I might do it again here, but I'm working on it, okay? So anyway, Yoda is inviting Luke to leave behind the world of questions, the world of concepts and ideas, and return to the direct experience of life. And we see this multiple times in the Star Wars universe. We see this with Rey. We see this with Anakin. Sometimes the apprentices of these concepts fail, and it leads them either fully to the dark side of the Force or down the dark path. But sometimes, in the case of Luke Skywalker, they learn to deal with these. They learn to deal with mindfulness and their surroundings and be one with the Force around them. A lot of the times when I hear people talk about the Force, they love to talk about the light side and what it means. And honestly, in the Skywalker saga, most of the lore we get from those movies is about the Jedi and the light side viewings of the Force. So let's talk about the dark side. We all know that saying from The Phantom Menace. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Once you go down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. And Yoda talks about the series of emotions that lead a person to the dark side of the Force. While both sides of the Force deal with emotions, and the light side is about controlling them and knowing how to use them, and the dark side is about being controlled by them. So how many times in a Star Wars duel between good and evil does the villain always say, "Release your anger"? Vader did it to Luke. Dooku did it to Obi-Wan. The Emperor did it to Anakin. Like we hear that all the time. It goes on countless times in this universe. Darth Maul once said that fear is my ally, and that fear is something that the Sith use to weaken people, to corrupt them, and bend them to their will. It's very effective. It's a very effective instrument. The Jedi's purpose is actually not to destroy fear, and also not to destroy the dark side, but it's to show us that the things that are problems in our lives aren't things that should terrify us, but things that we should overcome. Fear itself is born out of misunderstanding of the true nature of reality. You know, Anakin is a great example of misunderstandings of reality. He misunderstood his reality almost his entire life. And we can see what happens when you don't control your emotions and how it overwhelms you and the dark side consumes you. Remember when he slaughtered those Tusken Raidens? The Tusken Raiders? He was overcome with so much grief in that moment when his mom died. I mean, you can't blame him. But that grief turned into hatred to all of her murderers. And also a little bit of everything that's been done to him wrong in the past, such as Watto being a slave, being taken from his mother, not feeling like he fits in anywhere. And it drove Anakin to slay all the Tusken Raiders. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. Oh, Anakin. Okay, I'm going to try and stop with the impersonations. I'm so sorry. But Anakin has a constant battle between his mindfulness and his emotions. And this is what ultimately leads him down the dark path. And his counterpart, Padme, for example, is ironically more of a Jedi than Anakin ever was. Was, not is. Yes, Anakin does turn into a Jedi in the 6th movie, hence Return of the Jedi, but you know what I mean. Padme, I believe, is more on the ideals of what a Jedi is supposed to be than Anakin ever was in the prequel trilogy. I mean, you have her trying to reassure him throughout the movies that to be angry is to be human. I think she says that in Attack of the Clones, after he talks about how angry he is when his mom died. His idea of being a Jedi is that he should always be calm, serene, and detached from the mundane human emotions, but he misunderstands that all of those things should come in moderation. So what he does is he detaches himself completely from all of those things causing much confusion in him, therefore affecting his mindfulness and bringing out his inner dark side. That's it for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as I enjoyed making it. I will be doing a part 2 of the Dharma of Star Wars coming tomorrow, so please come back and check that out as well. We'll be talking all about karma and how it relates to Darth Vader, and also the importance of wisdom and mindfulness. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can see our videos every single day. And please give this video a like. It helps out a lot. Thank you so much, and somehow, some way, somewhere this week, may the Force be with you.